Well, Mike Bland here from SIS Global Investigations. I wanted to cover a topic that a lot of people ask us, and that is how to hire a private investigator or detective company. I have been asked this question, thousands of times over the last decade, and many of the time I end up, counseling these people on how to find a good detective, whether they hire us or someone else. And the thing that I'm a big stickler on myself is telling these people to ask for the investigator's past experience. Myself, probably a little, biased on that decision because myself, I've only investigated my entire life. I have done nothing else. 46 years old, and I have went into law enforcement at 21 and hit the ground running as a police officer for a career over 20 years, and have also a decade of private investigative experience. So I have seen that, living, breathing, eating, walking that lifestyle, learning how to, wire your brain to be a professional investigator. It's not something where you read a book, you take a PI seminar, fly somewhere and go to a PI convention, take an online PI test, or, sign up for a college that puts on PI classes. If it were that simple, then everybody would be a professional investigator. The person you need to hire is the person that has been doing this their whole life, that knows how to listen to their gut, listen to their mind, look at the evidence, think outside of the box, think of hundreds of the scenarios of what could be going on here, versus someone who does not have the background, the experience, the real world operational experience, and you can only come up with one or two ideas, which are ideas that everyone else is already just coming up with. That is not someone who is a professional investigator. I have, in this career, unfortunately, I will be very honest, it has left a lot to be desired in the way of meeting other investigators who I basically looked at being, I guess you would call, the real deal. And I have not met many of those. A lot of these guys were people that I really looked up to as being great detectives. And you kind of have those guys in the middle, and then you have everything else that's left over. I have met many people who bought turnkey PI businesses, people who just barely squeaked in by meeting the minimum requirements of getting a PI license, if it's in a state that requires licensing and regulation. And even then, some of those people didn't know what they were doing at all. I have helped out, worked with these, and being a professional, I will not name off names, companies. I'll never do that, but I will say that a lot of them are just simply not the real deal. They do have a license, they are charging people, they do have a website, and they are advertising specific services, but they simply have no idea what they're doing. And it's something that I have to be blunt about, because people are spending their hard-earned money on this, and it's not a cheap service. So when I see people out there claiming to be able to do the things that I know I can do, and they cannot produce, and they do not have the background that would even enable them to have the mindset or the skill set to produce, then myself and other guys who are professionals take this very personal. And it leaves a bad mark on the industry, as a whole. And it's where some of these people, this small percentage out there, starts to get this idea that investigators are a scam or a fraud, and it's just a big sham, and it's like a big smoke and mirrors act. Because many of the guys who have been doing this their whole life, like myself, and are very good and very passionate about doing investigations, they take their work serious, they take pride in their work, and most times come back with something else you did not have. No good detective I've ever met is going to make promises or guarantees on services rendered. And just because it's simply impossible. If you need that service, you need to call a psychic, because an investigator, whether it's FBI, a police detective, private detective agency, they cannot make guarantees. If anyone that says that, it's a major red flag and you should turn and run. But when it comes to asking their experience, you don't want to call an investigative company and start interrogating them, but they should understand that if they're open, transparent, and professional investigator, they should not get offended. Earlier after about 5 years into my own business, I was doing some, checking out competition of my own, some competitive business intelligence, and I was calling other investigators in other states and big cities and investigation companies that ranked high on Google and showed up well and are ones that people are obviously hiring. But when I was asking these guys for their experience, and I was just playing dumb, they couldn't tell me anything, or they got extremely offended. One guy said that you can go to our website, it's all on there, and there was nothing there about experience. Another guy I called literally sounded like he was using the restroom at the time, or was having some catastrophic health issue on the phone. So, sitting here breathing heavily, and I've just seen some very horrendous companies advertising. I've seen some with many with no experience. And again, this video is not made to sound negative or to attack other PI companies in order to build ourselves up. This video is, again, made to tell you how to hire a private investigator. For a beginner or for someone, whether you are a person, a company, someone going through a divorce, whatever your situation is, you need to be aware before you send someone a non-refundable payment of $5,000, $25,000, maybe $50,000, what you're getting yourself into. And, with us, I'm more than capable of backing up the training, certifications, and credentials. And, if someone doesn't believe you or doesn't believe you're capable and you just can't prove this to them, and they're just a tech that just has trouble trusting anyone, then they can always hire someone else. And that's fine. And what happens many of those times is that, like the people that have called us, that were doing the price shopping scenario, looking for the cheapest guy. And I always tell people flat out, that's not us. We charge for what we're worth, and it's not a cheap price. And so, in fact, we charge more than many law firms charge per hour as far as that goes. But, someone that has enough skin in the game and the time and experience, the certifications, and spent years out there being shot at as a police officer and learning how things really work, is going to charge what they're worth, and they're not going to shortcut themselves. And so starting out, we did that, and we were desperate to get business, but that was almost 10 years ago. So that's not something we do anymore. And we tell people to, feel free to ask us any questions, and we will, or you can call and ask us, and we'll be more than glad to explain our background, our credentials, our experience, again, our training, any type of cases we've solved. And on our About page on SIS Global Investigations, you can definitely read a lot of it right there. So again, on how to hire a private investigator, be careful, just take your time, ask around, read reviews, and simply call the investigator, see if they sound down to earth, if they feel trustworthy to you. And it's really just like when we do investigations, it's not about one aspect you're looking at. You're looking at all of the totality of the circumstances. And once you find yourself a good investigator, also make sure you keep them, because it's not easy to find a good private detective. All right, guys, thanks for watching.